The Los Angeles Clippers have a massive problem, and its name is not James Harden or Russell Westbrook or any one player or person within the team. It is a franchise-wide issue that needs to be addressed if they want to be a competitive basketball team in April. Now, I know the title of this video says something like the Clippers have a huge problem or something like that, something provocative. But believe it or not, I, like most rational people, are not ready to write the Clippers season off after only 9 games. Now, the only reason I do this is because I'm actually growing a small YouTube channel. I don't know if you noticed, but if you're enjoying this content, if you go back and you like some of our other content, feel free to give us a subscribe, leave a nice comment. We always love those. Um, but yeah, the Clippers have not been as expected as of late, and I'm here to just kind of dive into why they haven't been and offer some solutions as to how I think they can improve and be the team that we know they can be. Now, the easiest thing to point at is to say, oh, they have four really ball dominant players who can be that guy and who can be very positive NBA players with the ball in their hands. They don't know how to do it, And I've never really subscribed to that too many cooks in the kitchen type belief because I'm of the opinion that good basketball players are going to find a way to play good basketball regardless, right? But this is maybe the first time where I kind of see it where maybe we do need to see Paul George playing off the ball a little more, not always trying to create for himself, or Russ or Harden, who we'll talk about later, maybe not bring the ball up the court as much. Maybe the plays don't run through them as often. Maybe they split that, or maybe one gets it and one has to become a completely different skill set, which I think for either of them is very possible. I have seen Paul George play a little bit more off the ball, but he very clearly doesn't seem super comfortable with it yet. This goes for Kawhi too, but I haven't seen this problem as much with him. Is he'll get open corner three or three on the wing from Harden or Russ, and he'll just do a little extra that will end up getting him a more contested shot. He'll get it wide open and then take a dribble, move into the mid range, and then pull up. Where I think it's going to take some adjusting for him to have that instinct to be like, okay, I've got the ball, I'm decently open, let me pull this really quick, right? We see that with Kawhi too, but I think that's going to be a big adjustment Paul George specifically is going to have to make. Another thing you could point at is the turnover rate. They're averaging two more turnovers per game this year, which may not seem like a lot until you realize that right now, this year, they're averaging more turnovers per game than any team in the league did last year. The Rockets were at the bottom of the league, and they are averaging, I believe, zero point 0.8 more turnovers per game than the Rockets did last year. That's not something you'd really expect when you add a great playmaker like James Harden, but I do think it is a symptom of guys trying to do too much, like I mentioned with Paul George and everybody else on the team trying to make sure and be absolutely certain that they get their points, maybe even at a detriment to the team. Another thing you can say is that they lost a lot of depth over the offseason. They lost the Nicholas Batum, Reggie Jackson, John Wall, even. All of these guys were guys who were giving you 20 minutes a game last year, and they're all gone. So now they're left with Norman Powell, who's good, Bones Highland, who's good, Terrence Mann, but it's not the same as it was last year. So when that first unit is off the floor, when those stars aren't playing, they're having a tough time sustaining leads. And then what's your solution, Ben? All you do is you sit here and you shit on the Clippers and my favorite team, the Clippers, and you don't even offer any. I do have a solution. Okay, please stop yelling at me. Uh, the first one isn't as simple as the second one I'm going to propose, but the first one is what usually a lot of teams do, which is look around the league, look at bad teams, perhaps the Washington Wizards, who are my favorite team, of course. Um, Almost all bad teams have solid bench players on their team, either starting or coming off the bench, that they don't need. They just straight up don't match the timeline. Just looking at the Wizards, DeLon Wright and Danilo Gallinari have both been putting in great minutes for us this year on just a bad team where that's not going to use. But on a team like the Clippers, who do lack some depth, especially after trading for Harden, that's big. That would elevate their second unit to a place where maybe you're a little more comfortable with it. Maybe you're not trying to always play one or two stars at a time. Second solution isn't quite as simple, and it's going to hurt my heart to say this, but I think Russell Westbrook might be better served on the bench. Now, listen, I'm not going to say I haven't been saying this since he was in LA on the Lakers, because I have been, but Westbrook has always thrived when he's had his kind of own unit to run, to manage, to play through him. We saw it in OKC when everyone sucked and he was the main star, and he won an MVP out of it. So maybe you try to recreate 2016 OKC Russ on a much, much, much smaller scale, just coming off the bench, where he can be that number one guy, he can be the leader it needs, and he can give you that production from the second unit that you're sorely missing right now. This would not only free up possessions to have James Harden be that main playmaker, but it would also give shots to everyone else. And now all of a sudden, Russ's shots are going to Kawhi and Paul George and James Harden, who perhaps have a better chance at making them, is what I'll say. Um, Plus, Russ has always been elite on the second unit, like I said. And I would say Harden goes down to the second unit, goes down like it's a demotion. It's not, you're still playing in the NBA. But Harden's style kind of lends itself to being on the court with stars more, where Harden can be effective off the ball as a facilitator or like as a catch and shoot three guy, whereas Russ, I feel like way more of his value comes from having the ball in his hands and putting the ball in the basket. Another guy who you can see get a lot of blame on the Clippers is head coach Tyronn Lue, but I think he's actually a pretty good coach for a team like this. Throughout his career, Tyronn Lue has always thrived off being more of a hands-off coach. Not saying that any NBA coach doesn't do anything, but he's always thrived with players who are like, okay, I can go out and create for myself. We saw it in Cleveland with obviously LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love. Those are three guys who are kind of a system all together. And we could see something like this in LA, where he doesn't have to do all that much because he knows Kawhi and Paul George and James Harden and Russell Westbrook can all go out and create for themselves, so he doesn't have to be too heavy and dependent on one scheme or playing basketball this one rigid way. He can kind of more go with the flow and be a little looser, and I think he's a perfect coach for a team like this. That's going to be it for me today. If you stayed till the end, thank you so much for watching. It really does mean the most. If you enjoyed, please feel free to subscribe, like, leave a nice comment telling me how right I am and how great I am and how handsome I sound. And if you didn't like it, please don't say anything mean because I will cry. Um, you can find us on TikTok. We live stream here every Tuesday, breaking down college football players' film in preparation for the draft. TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, even, and Spotify, Own Accord Pod. You will find us. Thank you so much for watching. That's it for me today, and I'ma catch you.